our history has been colonized. African History Month is a reaction to that colonization.
And so it is very important for us to begin to revalue how we see our sayings, our traditions, our institutions that are not necessarily recognized as institutions.
Understanding the price and cost of liberty is a continuous work within a society.
For culture worker Attila Springer, it was the sheer bad mind of the African ancestors that ensured elements of African spirituality, language and culture survived despite displacement and even legislation. However, we must be mindful about how we now characterize them.
For example, you can find Chinese food, you can find Indian food, you can find Arabian food, Middle Eastern food, all of which is creolized in some way. However, African food, which also has been creolized by the space, is called Creole food. So even that level of erasure exists in the language that we, so us calling our African retentions Creole is also a way of us making ourselves invisible in the space.
Historian and chairman of the National Committee on Reparations, Dr. Claudius Fergus, reminds that reclaiming history is a right and an act of resistance and identity building.
The Igbo has a saying that is very popular. Until the lion learns to write his own history, the hunter will always be the hero of the hunt. So it's very important, therefore, for us to continue the commemoration of African History Month involving the students in that particular month in which we focus on African achievements in terms of African personalities in various fields of endeavor, and reclaim our history.
For International Coordinator the Nyabinghi Order, Bongo Greece, knowing ourselves leads to valuing ourselves, which fosters greater collective responsibility and power.
Because what we are actually trying to achieve is to form a common soul. So it is important not to be, not to demoralize yourself, but see the greatness, see the greatness in your ancestors so that you would see the greatness in you.
And Trinidad and Tobago has produced many great minds who came out of a clear African experience and whose ideologies have moved the entire world.
And let's not forget that Trinidad and Tobago has given the world some of the most vocal and famous Pan-Africanists. So we're talking about C.L.R. James, we're talking about Henry Sylvester Williams, we're talking about George Padmore, who was instrumental in the Ghanaian independence movement. We're talking about Kwame Ture, who coined the term Black Power during the Civil Rights Movement.
And rebuilding knowledge institutions and recentering cultural knowledge and practice within the consciousness of communities has the power to effect positive social change.
So those are the things that we need to look at when we begin to look at African history. What is our global contribution? And how do we instill a sense of pride in our future generations for what we have contributed to the world? Culture is where we have a possibility to enter into a conversation.
For all three, institutions like African History Month are about addressing in totality the impact of colonialism and enslavement on the African mind, body and spirit, so that what those in the African diaspora see, do and are continues to positively impact history. I am Stacia Yearwood for TTT News, urging you to live for local.